Right now it's screen sharing.
Mine is. Just the whole screen. There's no like scroll up to it.
Let me stop sharing for a minute. Yeah, that's it.
So I have like, can you go back to open this from scratch, like this whole? EV view up in the top. Oh, it
This is the same thing.
It's weird. I have like a thing up here where I would normally click like to share with you. It also says present. When I do that, I get like the right click menu.
I just have to do it like that because I don't know how to fix it.
I don't even know why you don't have the options.
Stephanie, can you hear me? Just quit it. I don't know how to do that right now. Hey everybody, this is Joanna at Devpost. We're going to get started in just a second here, and we'll walk you through a couple of the basics you need to know to submit your application to the hackathon. So just hang tight. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hey everyone, this is Joanna. I'm one of Devpost's community managers, and we just wanted to do a little webinar this morning to walk you through some of the information you need to know to successfully submit your application to the Hack and Roll Indoor Hackathon, which has about 2 weeks left until the submission deadline. So I'm just going to walk you through a brief presentation that has some basics. Some of this you might already know, some of it might be new. And then I'm going to open up the webinar to Q&A. So if you have any questions, please just type them in the chat window on the right-hand side of your YouTube live stream, and we will get to those in just a couple minutes after this presentation. So first of all, welcome. We're super excited to have you be part of the Indoor Hackathon and see what you're building to make transit safer in one of India's largest cities. So just some basics. Obviously, you probably know this, but the URL is hack-indoor.devpost.com. You do need to be registered in order to submit, so make sure you're registered. You have 2 weeks remaining, so your application must be submitted by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the 26th of January. We are 10.5 hours behind India, so that would be 3:30 a.m. in the morning on Wednesday the 27th. The competition is open to participants from all over the world, so you can be a resident of pretty much any country. You can read more about that in the rules. And of course, what we're looking for are applications that help to make transit safer for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists in Indore. This is just some background on the traffic problems in Indore. You can read about this on our website too, so I'm not going to spend too long on this. But basically, there's a huge safety issue because drivers don't often obey the traffic safety regulations that are in place to protect pedestrians. So they park all over, they proceed along roads where they're not supposed to be driving. And Indore suffers from a pretty high traffic fatality rate. It's the 4th highest in India after Chennai and Mumbai. So it's a pretty vital issue that we're trying to address. So there are a few ideas we have for you if in case you're still trying to come up with an idea to get jump started on your application. Again, I'm not going to read through all of these because you can actually check these out on our website on the resources page. But just to give you a heads up, there are some ideas there in case you're looking for just some quick ways to get started. So here's what you need to do to submit. As I said, you do have to be registered for the hackathon. Just something to be aware of is you can actually start your submission at any point and then come back to it and edit it as much as you want before the deadline. So you can actually go ahead and start your submission today, even if you're not ready to do the final submission, even if you haven't fully built the application. And that's a good way to let us know that you're planning on building something. And that way we can alert you if there are any issues or if you're missing anything, we can answer questions. It's a great way to open up a dialogue between you and us. And so I encourage you to start your submission as soon as you can if you are planning to build something. this is our URL for a little tutorial that we have about the submission form, but in a couple minutes I'll actually show you how the submission form works. So we'll go through that together. You do need to submit a demo video with your application. We'll talk about that more too, but basically this should be a short demonstration of how your app works. So it should show your app actually functioning, and you should explain how you're addressing the problem in Indore. So tell us what your app does to help make streets and traveling safer for pedestrians, motorists, and bicyclists. Your text description needs to be in English. We do need at least one screenshot of your app. And this is very, very important. We do need a way to test your application. So we're going to want to see that your app works apart from the demo that you do in your video. So you do need to give us a link to your working application. That could be a GitHub repo, an APK file, an iOS build, etc. We have all the details about how you can provide us access to test your app at this URL, hack-indore.devpost.com/details/fac #test. So if you forget that URL, just go to the website and go to the fact page, and it's all there. Again, I ran over this, but we really encourage you to submit early. Why is this? Because if you submit 5 minutes before the deadline and we notice that something is missing, it doesn't really give us time to let you know and give you time to then give us that missing piece of information. And you might have put in a lot of work and then not be eligible for prizes at the very last minute. Also, videos sometimes take quite a while to upload, so I encourage you to make sure your video is uploaded to YouTube or Youku or Vimeo ahead of time before you start your submission process, just to make sure that you do not miss the deadline. And that's pretty much it for the basics. Of course, you can always reach us at support@devpost.com. We also have a River channel set up. It's basically like a chat, a group chat channel where we can interact with you and answer questions. And you can always post a question to the discussion board on the website as well. So before I open it up for questions, I am just going to give you a little view of how the submission form works. You may have already started this on your own, but I just want to give you a sense of how it's functioning. So I'm going to go to the home page of the hackathon, hack/indore.devpost.com, and I'm already registered. So I'm going to click on this blue button at the top, enter a submission, pretty self-explanatory. And at this point, you have the option to either add a new project or pick something from your existing portfolio. In this case, I am going to add a new project. And you have you can import something that you've already put on in your GitHub repo, but in this case, I'm going to skip that, and I am going to just give it a fake name and save. And this elevator pitch is just a chance to give you a chance for you to give us a brief idea of what your app is and does. So obviously that's up to you, but it should sort of give us an idea of what your app is designed to do. So in this case, I'm just gonna make something up. And here you can tell us what tools you use to build your application. So what APIs or technical tools you use to build it. So I'm just going to make that up again. It should pull up a drop down for some common tools. Let's say. And if you did work with team members, you can add their emails here so that they will be listed on the project page when someone goes to view your app. I didn't work with anyone, obviously, so I'm going to leave that out. And this is where you can give us the full description of what your app does. This is required in order to submit your project, so you need to give us a little bit of background on what you were doing. And this will show up when someone goes to view your app in the Hackathon gallery. So it's a great way to present your application and also give the judges an idea of what you were trying to do. So I'll just do a little bit of stuff here. You can use basic Markdown to edit this if you'd like. And here's where I'm going to give the testing link so that we at Devpost can test your app. I don't have one right now, so I'm going to leave that blank. This is where you would upload images of your application. You just need one at minimum. And this is where you'd give us your video link. So your YouTube, Vimeo, or Youku video that shows how your app works. I don't have one right now, so I'm just going to save. And that takes you to step 2, which asks you a couple of additional questions to determine what prizes you're going to be eligible for, etc. So again, this is pretty self-explanatory, but I just wanted to show you the form. This is where you can upload a file that gives us access to test your app. You need to tell us what kind of submitter you are, so whether you're working by yourself with a team or whether you're part of a larger organization. You need to tell us your country of residence to make sure to let us know that you're definitely eligible for prizes. Phone number. If you are entering as a team of students and you want to be eligible for the student prize, you should, of course, select yes for this question. And you need to tell us whether your app is a new app that you built expressly for this competition or whether it existed prior to the competition. If it did exist before the competition began, you need to tell us how you updated it or improved the functionality or built a new feature for the app during the submission period. So this is where you would do that. And tell us how to test your app. And all the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm just going to scroll down. And then we just have some check boxes to make sure that you gave us everything we need to vet your app. And then you would submit and you'd be done. But again, as I said before, you could go back and edit this as many times as you like before the deadline. So, so I encourage you to set it up for now and then fill in the details as you go along. So that is pretty much it for my presentation, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to open it up for questions. So Stephanie asked, can you submit an existing app? Yes, you can submit an existing app, but it needs to be, as I said, updated after the start of the submission deadline. So basically, for any app that existed before the competition opened, in order to be eligible for prizes, you need to make some sort of functional or UX change after the start of the submission period. So that could be a new UX feature. It could be that you incorporate new data into your app. You could just build an entirely new feature. Something needs to change after the start of the submission period, and then your app would be eligible for prizes. So Gauthama asked me, I don't have a full version, but I have a basic skeleton of the app. So in my first submission, should I mention the direction in which I'm taking the app? Yeah, I would say that would be a good idea. If you don't have the fully functioning app yet for us to test, but you can give us an idea of what you're building, go ahead and write that out in the description so that we can see if there might be anything we need to ask for from you. And if that didn't answer your question, let me know. I'm hoping it did. The next question is, thanks for all the details. Can we offer a solution that can be used by local authorities, or do we just have to focus on user-to-user apps? That's a great question, actually. So yeah, your app could actually be something that's directed at local traffic or police authorities. The idea is to make commuting safer for indoor residents, but it doesn't have to be a consumer-facing app, and it could be an app that's directed at traffic enforcement authorities, as long as it works to solve the problem of traffic safety in indoor. And I just wanted to go back to the prior question. Just to be clear, your final submission does need to include a fully functioning version of your app in order for your app to be eligible for prizes. But if you'd like to submit the skeleton version now as you're working on it, that's fine. The next question is, if it's an Android app, does it have to be on the Play Store? No, it does not. Your app is not required to be publicly available in a store at the time of submission in order to be eligible for prizes. So for your Android app, you can give us an APK file in order for us to test it, just to clarify, if it's not in the store yet. We'll be hanging out for at least another 15 or 20 minutes. So if you have other questions, feel free to type them in the chat window. And we're hanging out, so don't be shy. So we have a question from Lyle. If we submit early, will Devpost or the Hackathon manager give us tips and advice on what we can still improve on? So yes and no. So if you do submit early, we're able to let you know if your application is complete and whether it's missing anything that would prevent it from being considered for prizes. But we're not actually able to give specific advice on how to build your application or the technical approach that you're taking to solving your problem. What we can do is make sure that we have everything to consider your app for prizes to make sure that it's an eligible application. So I hope that makes sense. Stephanie wants to know, does everyone on a team need to be from indoor in order to win the best app by an indoor resident? So that's a great question. So we have this special prize, which is best app built by an indoor resident. So you can submit that as an individual or as a team. If you're submitting as a team, you do need to make sure that every member of your team is currently a resident of indoor in order to be eligible for that prize in particular. So yes, they do need to be indoor residents at the time of submission in order to be eligible for that prize. So the next question is, do I need to submit the APK file with code? The APK needs to be able to, so we need to be able to install the file on an Android device and run the app. But no, you don't need to give us your source code as far as I understand. If you have further questions about that, just email us at support@Devpost. Also, I just want to say if you missed any part of this webinar and joined us a bit late, we will post the recording on the website as soon as we're finished here. So don't worry if you missed it, you'll be able to review the webinar on our website. And again, if you have questions or if anything's not clear, just shoot us an email at support@devpost.com and we will respond quickly to you. So someone has another question. If my submission contains two apps, one for the front end, a mobile app, and another one for the back end, an administrative app, a web app, do I have to send one or multiple submissions? That is a good question. I'm not sure I've ever seen an application like that. My instinct is to tell you that that would actually be two separate applications. Oh no, my colleague here is telling me it's one submission, sorry. So it would be one submission where you would feature the primary app, the mobile app, and you would do a demo video that explains how that works. And you would also include the backend app in that same application. If they're both designed to do the same, accomplish the same function and one works with the other, then that would be one application. So if you could attach both of those apps as a zip file, that would be ideal. But if you have other questions about that, we can address those with you after the webinar. Lyle's wondering if he submits a project, do you have to provide proof that we're students in order to be eligible for the student prize? Yes, you do. So we will ask you on the submission form about your status. So you do have to be currently enrolled in a university program in order to be eligible for prizes. And you will have to sign an affidavit stating that you're a student in order to receive that prize. There's a new question here. In case of a lack of data, what is advised? So can you give me more information about that? I'm not sure what kind of data you're asking about. Just waiting for some more information. So Gautam, I would ask if you can send me an email about this so that we can see if we can get you access to the data you're seeking. It might be that we already have it posted on the site. If not, we can see if we can put in a request for you with our partners in Indore. We'll do our best to make that happen, but if not, yes, you would be able to use mock data if that's the only option, just to demonstrate how the app works. So there's a bunch of data on our site. I don't know if you've actually had a chance to look at that. Let me get that URL for you. Hang on. So here's the URL for the resources page. That actually lists a bunch of data sources. It could be that you've already looked at these and haven't gotten what you want, but if that's the case, please send us an email at support@Devpost and tell us exactly what it is you're looking for. We are working with some of the government authorities in Indore, so if at all possible, we'll try to get you what you need, and if not, then yes, mock data is permissible. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes remaining, so if there are additional questions, now would be a great time. So does my app need to function in Indore in order to be eligible for prizes? This is a great question, and it's one that I think not a lot of people are aware of. So in fact, your app does not need to specifically function in Indore in order to be eligible for prizes. It needs to address a problem that is similar enough to what's happening in Indore that it could work in Indore. So for example, if you are working on a transit app and it happens to be focused right now on a different city, but it addresses a lot of the same problems that exist in Indore and it could be adapted at some point to work in Indore, then yes, your app would be eligible for prizes in this competition. Of course, if there's any way you can design your app so that it does work specifically in Indore, that's an ideal case. But if you already are working on an existing app that you built for Mumbai or Delhi or another large city, you can of course submit that as long as it is addressing the kinds of problems that are currently plaguing the traffic situation in Indore. So Lyle asks, what Android version should we be targeting? What Android version is the test device running? I'm not sure what our test device is. Let me see if my colleague can answer that question. Hang on one second. Yeah, we don't have a specific, we change test devices just depending on what we have available at the time. So you can basically build whatever Android version you want and we'll find a test device if necessary for that. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But please do tell us in the testing instructions what it is we need to test it on, if that's going to make a big difference. We're just going to hang out for another 5 minutes or so. So if there are additional questions, feel free to send those our way. And if we missed your question or if you join late, of course, send us an email, watch the webinar recording, or hit us up on the discussion forum or the River channel, and we will make sure you get your question answered in time for the submission deadline. All right. Seems like our questions are quieted down for now, but we'll just hang out for another few minutes. Are there any real-time data in the resources page, something that gets updated frequently? I don't recall that off the top of my head, Lyle, sorry. I'd have to go through it one by one and see. I think there are a couple resources that have real-time data, but I don't know what they are specifically. Okay, so it seems like we've run through most of the questions people have today. So I think we're going to wrap it up for now. But just one more time, you can always reach us at support@devpost.com, on the discussion forum, or on the River channel. And we will be monitoring those channels and your emails for the next couple weeks as we get closer to the submission deadline. So feel free to hit us up anytime. We're here to help you. That's our whole job and what we love doing. So we're super excited to see what you're building. And we're really looking forward to seeing your applications as they come in and working with you to make sure they're eligible and can be considered for prizes. So thanks so much for being part of this. And we will be in touch with you through our other channels in the next couple weeks. Take care, everybody.